Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast battle report. Today we have 1500 points of Space Marines versus one Spirit. 1500 points of Dark Eldar, Corsairs, and the Coven. So let's get this bloodbath, Maelstrom of War started. Okay, Cloak and Shadows, Hammer and Anvil deployment. The Space Marines have deployed their Demi-Battle Company. We have a Devastator Squad with rocket launchers, a Combat Squad, a Tactical Squad, 10 men, 5 in the Razorback, 5 outside. The 5 outside have bolters, the 5 inside have a plasma, combi plasma.
Yep.
Heavy bolter on the Razorback. 3 heavy bolter attack bikes, which is the fast attack choice, with a captain with just like a power sword. And then we have deployed the Dark Eldar, deployed the Warp Spiders. 2 empty Venoms, the Warriors are in reserve. 1 Venom with a Homunculus in it. He just joined it because it's a fast attack Venom. A Grotesquerie, so they rolled Shred today, and they have 3 Grotesques in each. 1 Grotesque, this one here, has the Prince from the Corsair detachment, and he's got a Shadow Field and a Void Saber. And combat drugs, he will +1 attack. And then a Autark with a Shard of Anaris and a Banshee Mask in that one. We have 5 Scourge with Haywire Blasters over here, and in reserve I have 3 Eldar Jet Bikes with nothing. I have 5 Corsair Reavers with 2 Fusion Guns and a Baron, and I have a Lamian in reserve, a Razorwing with Lances, and 2 5-man units of Warriors with Blasters. So that's 1500 points of 1 Spirit army. And then in reserve for the Space Marines, we have an Attack Wing with a Storm Raven and 2 Storm Talons, 2 drop pods for the Tactical Marines. That one has Melters, this one has Plasmas, and this unit here is in the Razorback. Okay, so the Dark Eldar do want to go first, as it is Night Fight on turn 1. Will the Space Marines attempt to seize initiative?
I'm definitely going to attempt
They
to
do
seize.
Want to try. Strategic Warlord traits, we have It Will Not Die for the Captain, and the Dark Eldar rolled on Strategic and got +1 to seize, and re-roll all reserve rolls, which is kind of good. Okay, do they seize the initiative? And
nope.
They don't. It is Dark Eldar, Corsairs, and Coven. Turn 1. We had the Dark Eldar advance in full speed. And we were trying to get Death by 1,000 Cuts, which was 3 different casualties from 3 different units, because it was early in the game. The attack bikes passed all their armor saves against Venom Fire. 1 Devastator died, and 2 Marines from that unit died. The Warp Spiders were over there, now they're over here, so they moved up. And then the Grotesquerie has moved up on this flank here. We have the Venoms and the Scourge that stayed back to hold the line. So we start off with a 1 point for the Dark Eldar, and now we're moving on to Space Marine turn 1. We have 1 drop pod poised to arrive for the Space Marines, and First Blood still up for grabs. This is a Sky-Fi Nexus, so I believe it'll be very important throughout the game, with lots of flyers on the board. The Space Marines began their assault by trying to kill this Raider, Auspexing it and shooting everything at it. The Raider survived with 1 hull point, only to get destroyed by 1 Hammer of Wrath attack. The Grotesque with the Autark have disembarked, but that has granted the Space Marines First Blood. With Flamey Death, the drop pod has arrived. 2 combat squads, 1 with flamers and 1 with bolters, all fired at the Scourge. They did make a good number of saves. 1 Scourge is left alive, but he is running away. But they have captured objective 6 for another point. These Space Marines have tried to charge. They've charged in, killed a Warp Spider with assault. The Warp Spiders hit and ran like 15 inches over here, 14 inches. And the Space Marines did get Supremacy, which has given them an additional 3 points. So we're looking at 5 points for the Space Marines to 1 point for the Dark Eldar. Moving on to Dark Eldar, Corsairs, and Coven. Turn 2. So we had that Venom hold back and stay on that objective to capture it. I was trying to capture objective 6. The Corsairs that arrived via Deep Strike failed to hit with their fusion guns, so they didn't kill the drop pod. 3 of those Marines died, so there's 2 left. Both Cabalites came on and helped shoot down that combat squad. The Lamian arrived and ran into cover. And then in combat, we had this combat, 1 bite died, one has 1 wound left, and a challenge going with the Shard of Inaris and the Benji Mask that was really useful against all the Overwatch then. And the Prince and his grotesques wiped out that little combat squad in 1 round, giving me blood and guts. And then over here, we have 3 tacticals left against the Powerblade Exarch in the back. So, we're moving on to Space Marine turn 2, and we have reserves to arrive. We have the entire Storm Wing to arrive, and it rolls once for the whole formation. They do not show up. And then we have the drop pod to arrive, and it does show up with a tactical marine squad with melter guns. Moving on to turn 2. Pod arrived, combat squadded. These guys shot the Corsairs off the board. These guys put 2 wounds on the grotesques, and this Razorback 2 wounds on the grotesques. Nothing happened in the combat here, and they hit and ran out of combat. So 1 hull point was put on that Venom, and this Venom was destroyed by these 2 Space Marines. So the Space Marines did get another 3 points. So we're looking at 8 points to 3, favoring the Space Marines. We're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 3. So a pivotal Dark Eldar turn 3. We had nothing happen over here as these Marines passed all their saves, and both Lance and Blaster failed to do any damage to the drop-off. The Homunculus killed 1 model out of here and forced them to fall back to gain psychological warfare thanks to the Coven -1 leadership bubble. And then we had these Space Marines lose 3 of their number to Venom Fire. In the combat, we had these grotesques charge in, wipe out that tactical unit, and the Autarch died, but instant death wounds killed every single model in that combat, as the grotesques have now consolidated. And over here, the Warp Spiders shot and charged in and killed all the Devastators, Hammer of Wrath doing most of the damage. So we're moving on to Space Marine turn 3. But the Dark Eldar have gained 3 points this turn for capturing Objective 1 in the backfield of the Lamian, for psychological warfare, making a unit fall back, and for killing the Warlord. So now we're moving on to turn 3, Space Marines. Okay, Space Marines, lots of shooting. Killed 2 grotesques from there, all 3 grotesques from here that were already wounded. Immobilized and put 1 hull point on that Raider. These Space Marines ran in and died. These Space Marines captured the objective, shot the Lamian off that one. So they get another 3 points for a total of 11 points to the Dark Eldar's 6 points. So now we're moving on to turn 4, and the reserves are arriving. Let's see what happens. Space Marine turn 4. Too bad we have to call the game as time is up at the store. But Storm Raven that killed the Razorwing. And then we had nothing really else happen except for a Raider die. So we're looking at an overwhelming victory for the Space Marines as they came in and they were able to get a lot of points as the game continued. And that's it. Make sure you stay tuned to the Tactical Corner as I talk a little bit about the game. Thanks a lot for watching. Check the links down below for other content, and make sure you have a great 2016. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Skari.
Hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. This is Skari, your grateful host. Pardon, I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is not all there. A reminder to subscribe to the channel, comment, links down below to all the other tactical videos as well as all the other content, and the Patreon page if you'd like to support the channel and improve its content. So onto the game. Cloak and Shadows is always an interesting Maelstrom mission because you never know what your opponent has in their hand. This means that it's very hard for you to counter your opponent's moves in terms of capturing objectives or keeping things alive or maneuvering somewhere that it'll be harder for your opponent to take advantage of. The Dark Eldar did have first turn and got a quick upper hand, but did fail to gain first blood or a point for death by 1,000 cuts. So the Space Marines were very good at making sure that every 3 cards they got, they were getting 3 points, which meant that they quickly advanced in the point count, and the Dark Eldar fell behind. The men of the match were, of course, the Grotesquerie. The Grotesquerie is a Coven formation. Make sure you check out the Coven book. It's a Dark Eldar supplement. And they are very, very tough. Lots of attacks, high toughness, and can deal with pretty much any target in the game that can be assaulted that is not high armor value. The Space Marines did target the transports effectively to mitigate the Dark Eldar movement, using their drop pods to hit hard where the Dark Eldar would do best. Now, using the Dark Eldar army with so many different elements, Dark Eldar, Craftworld, Coven, and even the Corsairs from Imperial Armour, made it very hard for me to play a very strategic game, as I had lots of points everywhere. All in all, it was a very fun game, and it comes to show that you should always play till the end. The Space Marine air support just came in later to seal the deal. Would you have done anything differently? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching.